Hear what comes out of this thing on my neck, because having been asked to be here with you is partly reflective, I think, of the fact that I was in the first graduating class. It's mostly reflective of the fact that although you believe the agenda was organized according to some logical principles, the fact is we were the oldest folks and so the most likely to be up early in the morning. When I came here, it was as the result of my good friend Bradley Wong's father, Robert Tuck Wong, having decided that his son's buddy needed a helping hand. I think what I'm on the fringe of talking about here is nepotism as a career foundation. So I won't go down that path very far, but I will say that it was a very different school. That when I showed up on the first day to the brand new biomed building, and of course it was still all dirt and mud around the building at that point, a few patches of scraggly grass. I was attired not too differently from how I am now. I think I had rubber slippers on. I know I had rubber slippers on. And we all assembled in B103, and I sat in the back smoking unfiltered Camel cigarettes. It's a different world. We did not stop smoking, I don't think, in that school for quite some time. I think the only real sin in assessing memory is to fail to be grateful for the memories I do have. I wanted to touch on a couple of other folks who were at the apex of the administration. Because I think although they weren't formally deans, they were stuck with all of the accountability and responsibility of deans. Cheryl Hammer, Sam Shoemaker, Gary Ostrander, all functioned as interim deans to help bring the school along as well. And I think it would be improvident, it would not be right for me to fail to make mention of that. I'm very lucky. It's either, again, a sign of adolescent regression or really just not being able to find a job anywhere else. But I'm still working at the place I went to school in. And so what I have the benefit of doing is each year watching and I can call them kids. I mean, some of them are 35 years old. They're still kids. They're still younger than my wardrobe. And I get to watch them go through the process. So it startles me at times as I think I'm teaching them something to go back to the bookshelves and find what I found this morning. I have an office across the way. 2 books I pulled down simply because they looked old and I wanted to glance at them. One was a neurology text that was owned in 1944 by my uncle by marriage, Walter Charr, who was Jack's colleague. In it, for some reason, I popped open a section relating to hysteria, in which it was describing writer's cramp, as well as a variety of afflictions for pianists and for construction workers and people who did piecework and typists, and noting that these were characteristic of a particularly sensitive, fluctuant, and hysteric personality, and could be cured with extensive psychotherapy. Of course, we're talking about what subsequently became thought of as compartment syndromes, but so putting that down in its place and thinking to myself, golly, we sure know a lot more now. I found next to it was a book that has the signature inside of it is Stanley Batkin. And it was dated 1938, and it's a text on the hippocampus. It's 250 pages long of detailed information with exquisite referencing, photographs, electroencephalograms involving the examination of people who had disorders of the hippocampus. Essentially a reminder to me to have a little bit of humility hanging regarding just how much effort and how brilliant the people were who were our antecedents. Boy, I got off on a tangent there, didn't I? happily, I'm coming up on the end of my 8 or 9 minutes here, so I have a lot of my colleagues here, I'm happy to say, this weekend. I'm happy to say that most of us are still around, still above ground. But one, in fact, isn't Gwen Magua passed this past year, and I would be remiss in not mentioning Gwen, who was among the successors to Ben as a director of student affairs, and as really a guiding maternal spirit, if not, in fact, a hovering superego to an awful lot of the students who came through here. I could get furious with Gwen at times. I could argue with her and never win, but it was impossible to not love her. So I'll sit down and hush up, because I think what Pat would very much like us to do is to entertain questions.